Good evening and welcome. At this time, if you would, please silence your cell phones. And be advised, these proceedings are being recorded. If you desire to address the City Council during the meeting, please complete a request to speak form available at the front entrance and present it to the City Clerk. Speakers will be called upon at the appropriate time, and each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Our City Clerk will now make a Zoom broadcasting announcement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As of June 15th, the City of Grand Terrace reopened its public meetings. Therefore, tonight's meeting of December 8th is open to the public. Please be advised that face masks are required, social distancing will be practiced, and occupancy limits will be enforced. Additionally, pursuant to Section 3 of Executive Order N2920 issued by Governor Newsom, tonight's meeting will also be conducted telephonically through Zoom and broadcast live on the city's website and Channel 3. If you would like to participate telephonically and speak on an agenda item, you can access the meeting by dialing *67-1669-900-9128, enter meeting ID number 811-5686-2986, and password number 266658. You will be placed in the waiting room, muted until it is your turn to speak. You may also submit your comments by sending them to ccpubliccomment@grandterrace-ca.gov. The City of Grand Terrace thanks you for taking all precautions to prevent spreading the COVID-19 virus.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. At this time, I will call to order the City Council. City Council as successor agency to the Community Redevelopment Agency and Housing Authority meeting for the City of Grand Terrace. Regular meeting December 8th, 2020. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Lieutenant Lane of the San Bernardino County Sheriff Department to lead us. Madam City Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allen.
Present.
Councilmember Hussey.
Present.
Councilmember Robles.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson.
I am here.
Mayor McNivel.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. We have some election results to share tonight. Madam City Clerk, if you will.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Deborah Thomas, City Clerk's office. Tonight before you is the declaration of results for the November 3rd, 2020 municipal election. This staff report supports all adopted goals of the City Council's 2030 vision and supports all adopted core values. The City of Grand Terrace consolidated its general municipal election with the San Bernardino County Register of Voters office for 3 4-year term council member positions. In accordance with the Elections Code, the Registrar of Voters completed the official canvass and issued the certified results on December 1st, 2020. The Election Code requires the City Council to adopt a resolution reciting the fact of the election and declaring the results not later than the next regular scheduled City Council meeting following the presentation of the canvass of the returns, which was received on December 1st. The resolution provides the official canvass results as follows. The whole number of ballots cast in the City of Grand Terrace is 11,943, with each candidate receiving the following number of votes. Jeremy Cecil Briggs, 1,171. Jeff Allen, 1,827. Bill Hussey, 2,940. Ken Stewart, 1,678. Jeffrey McConnell, 1,757. And Sylvia Robles, 2,570. The top 3 vote getters are Sylvia Robles, Bill Hussey, and Jeff Allen. Adoption of the attached resolution will satisfy the requirements of the Elections Code to declare the results and authorize the presentation of the oath of office to the elected council members. There is no physical impact, and at this time, staff recommends City Council adopt the resolution provided reciting the facts of the consolidated general municipal election, accepting the official canvass and official statement of votes cast from the San Bernardino County Register of Voters office. That's the end of my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any questions of staff at this time? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Sylvia Robles, second by Jeff Allen. Are there any requests to speak on this item? I guess I should ask that.
Yes, there are members of the public waiting. However, I do not know if they're here to speak on this particular item. I can pull them in. I'm so sorry. Trying to juggle this. Okay, there's no microphone on that one.
Ms. Otis, did you want to speak on the results of the election or for public comment?
For public comment.
Public comment.
Just public comment?
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much.
Ms. Odenbaugh, did you want to speak on the declaration of the results or public comment?
Public comment?
And we have one more.
Okay.
Caller in user number 1, did you want to speak on declaration of results or public comment?
All right, we'll come back. All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Sylvia Robles and a second by Councilmember Jeff Allen. If you would, please call the vote.
Councilmember Allen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey,
Yes.
Councilmember Robles,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson,
Yes.
and Mayor McNabo.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. All right, so we don't have any special presentations, but we actually do in a way. We will move to the installation of our officers who will receive their oath of office tonight. And so we will have 3 separate oath of office opportunities here for our installation. They will go one at a time. We will start with Councilmember Robles, who will be sworn in by Mia Montiel. And then following that will be Bill Hussey, who will be sworn in by Johan Gallo. And then following that will be Jeff Allen, and he will be sworn in by Rebecca Allen. And so we will have you up at the lectern to receive your oath of office and certificates. Once all of you are sworn in, we'll have you come back to the dais and you'll have an opportunity to make remarks. Okay? So let's begin with Sylvia Robles and Mia Montiel.
Council Member-elect Sylvia Robles, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sylvia Robles,
I, Sylvia Robles,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to
I will bear full faith and allegiance to
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
and I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to do.
Thank
Okay.
Councilmember Bill Hussey, Mr. Johan Gallo,
Let me take all this garb off. I'll just use Mr.
Councilmember-elect Bill Hussey, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Bill Hussey,
I, Bill Hussey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I bear true faith
and that I bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or
Well,
purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental let's skip that. And that I will,
I mean, is there a mental thing going on?
yes, there is. That I will
That I will,
well and faithfully
well and faithfully,
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties with which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, Councilmember Allen and Ms. Rebecca Allen.
Councilmember-elect Jeff Allen, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Allen,
I, Jeff Allen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
Against-
foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
All right, I'm going to be the first to say congratulations to each of you on your reelection. And I will start with Councilmember Sylvia Robles, if you would like to make some remarks.
I'm having a hard time with the mask today. I sincerely want to thank the voters for voting me in for this third term. I have a pretty bad case of arthritis, so I'm unable to go to each of your doors to doors, and I had hoped this year that I could have coffees and all that, but COVID came into that. But I hope you got my message of past accomplishments and the future that you will have from me and that's full fidelity of what's best for our residents. I want to thank my husband for going and getting my nomination papers done. As many of you might recall, I lost my eldest brother to a tragic accident, and it's still a very difficult thing. My father passed away when I was 3, and my oldest brother, who was 9 years older than me, I didn't realize until this grief that I'm going through how much he was a substitute father for me. And he, in all my campaigns, acted as a treasurer. He was really good at the computer, and he would do some things that were beyond Excel, which is what I do. And I just want to acknowledge him today, that how important he was in my life, and that I really miss he would come to each swearing in and be here with me. I want to thank my children and my husband, my longtime friends that have always said that they will sign my papers, or they came to my home to make sure that I had the nomination and I was able to get on the ballot. And again, to all of you in the community and to my peers, congratulations also to you. And let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Robles, and again, congratulations. Councilmember Bill Hussey.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for swearing me in. You've been swearing at me for a while, so I figure I'll let you do it in public this time. But this comes as Psalms 32:8. The Lord says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. And it's true, God puts people in your life to accomplish things that you didn't think you were going to do. I am blessed and humble for everybody's support. My friends, I am blessed and humble that the voters voted me, reelected me back in. I also want to say thank you to my family and friends and my wife and my kids and my granddaughter, little Georgia, up there. And thank you, colleagues, on the council. We are a team. As a council, we all work as a team. There's not one individual that could do anything. That's why we're a team. I think we're a pretty good team, and looking forward to the next 4 years working together with you and doing what's overall the best for Grand Terrace. So thank you, everybody. God bless, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, and again, congratulations, Councilmember Hussey. Councilmember Jeff Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to also thank all the voters who, this year we had more voters from Grand Terrace turned out to vote than ever before. And I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who went out and voted and voiced your support for democracy, whatever your choices were. And those who chose to vote for me, I want to thank you, especially for allowing me another term in office, and for your confidence in me. And I just want to let you know that I'll do my very best, and ask you to continue to reach out to us and let us know how we're doing and what we need to do to pay better attention. And I want to also second what Councilmember Hussey was saying, that I think that we have a great team here, and teamwork works best. And so I look forward to working 4 more years with this team. Thank you again, and I wish you all I want to say personal thanks to both my daughters, my daughter that swore me in, Rebecca, and my other daughter, Esther, who's at home right now. And she's probably watching right now, but she did a lot for my campaign, and she was a big help. And so thank you very much for all of that, both of that, my families.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Allen, and again, congratulations. At this time, we will recess to allow our candidates to spend a little bit of time with their family, maybe get a picture. It'll be interesting this year with masks, but it's an opportunity to be with the family and commemorate this opportunity. So we are in recess for 10 minutes. All right, we're ready to reconvene. We'll be reconvening at this time. That's okay. It was an interesting story. Maybe you'll tell us more about it when your item comes up. All right, so we'll reconvene to open session. Do we have any reordering of additions to or removal of items from the agenda?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, so we'll move to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizen may request removal of an item from the consent calendar. And are there any requests to remove items at this time? Okay, I will note that item number 7, when we take our vote, we will be voting as a city council and as members of the successor agency to the redevelopment agency. And so, were there any requests to speak on consent calendar?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, so I will entertain a motion for the entire consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Wilson, a second by Councilmember Allen. Please call the vote.
Council and Board Member Allen.
Yes.
Council and Board Member Hussey.
Yes.
Council and Board Member Robles. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor Chair McNabo.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. We'll move to public comment, and this is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items not appearing in the regular agenda. Because of restrictions contained in California law, the City Council may not discuss or act on any item not on the agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask a question for clarification. Also, items may have a brief response from staff once public comment is over, and items may be requested to be agendized for future meetings. So I understand we have 3, perhaps 4 public speakers. And if you would please invite the first speaker to unmute.
Ms. Otis, could you please unmute?
Yes, hi. I would just like to really thank the board for supporting the Grand Terrace High School seniors and for all you do for our little city. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your calling in. And I believe she is referring to our Community Benefit Fund award that we awarded as part of our consent calendar. All right, so our second public comment speaker.
Ms. Odenbach, could you please unmute?
Hi, I'm also with Samil, and I just wanted to say just thank you so much for supporting the seniors and giving them the support that we need to make it through this really unnatural year. And so just thank you.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much. Do we have a third speaker?
We do. I'm going to unmute them. Public comment number 3, there was no phone number. It was just unknown caller.
Hi, this is Mario Sanchez, one of the parent coordinators for the gths senior activities. I also wanted to, take the time to thank the city. I've lived here in Grand Terrace since '75. My parents lived here since 1972, and I'm pretty homegrown here in Grand Terrace, having attended all the schools and seeing the Grand Terrace High School come to fruition after so many years of determination by the city. And I just wanted to take the time to really thank the city. If there's ever been a time that I've lived here, that I can say with confidence that the city has really supported the students, in particular the seniors, this year with the Community Benefit Fund grant approval. I just wanted to say thank you so much that, as a community, I think if there's one thing that embellishes, what Grand Terrace is about, it's about, working together as community and really just coming to see that, we care about the seniors of our community. And so my confidence has just been restored into the community, and I'm just so grateful to have representatives as yourself and that believe in what we're doing for the seniors of Grand Terrace High School. So thank you.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate you calling in to share those with us. And our next caller?
We have one more, area code 951.
Hi, my name is Sarah Garcia. I went to school with Mario, and I just ditto everything he's saying. We really appreciate it. It's awesome. It's such a sad year. These kids are battling with so much depression and just anxiety, and some of them aren't sleeping. And I just hear from all of our fellow parents, and we're just trying to do something as safe as possible for everybody. And we just want to say thank you guys so much if we can make this happen. We appreciate it a lot. I know the kids will too. Maybe not until they get older, but they will.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to call in. And so I'm going to go back and say Ms. Otis, Ms. Odenbaugh, Mr. Sanchez, and Ms. Garcia, thank you so much for taking the time to call in tonight and to share your perspective. And I know my colleagues and I like to support the youth in our community, so we appreciate your calling in and affirming our decision to do so. Any more public comment at this time?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, so we'll close public comment. We have no public hearings. We have no unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business, and the first item is selection of Mayor Pro Tempore, presented staff report by Madam City Clerk, Ms. Deborah Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Deborah Thomas, City Clerk's office. Before you this evening is the selection of Mayor Pro Tempore. This staff report supports all adopted goals of the City Council's 2030 vision and supports all adopted core values. Following the regular municipal election date held every 2 years, the City Council selects one of its members to serve as Mayor Pro Tempore. Government Code Section 34905 provides for cities with elected mayors that the City Council shall meet at the meeting at which the declaration of the election results for a general municipal election is made and install one of its number as Mayor Pro Tempore. This does not have a physical impact on the general fund, and it is staff recommendation that the City Council select among themselves a Mayor Pro Tem from a member of the City Council who is not the directly elected mayor. The term of office for the selected Mayor Pro Tempore will be for 2 years until the next regular general municipal election. That's the end of my report. If you have any questions, I'm here happy to answer them.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any questions of staff at this time? Okay. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So we'll bring it back to council for their deliberation and a motion.
I'll make a motion, Bill Hussey for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay. So I have a motion by Councilmember Sylvia Robles for Bill Hussey, and I have a second by Councilmember Jeff Allen. Any further discussion?
I just have a question. Is it, I don't know the right word to use. Can a Mayor Pro Tem be selected successively? In other words, could Mayor Pro Tem Wilson be selected for a second term?
Yes, if that was the desire of the council. Okay. Please call a vote.
Councilmember Allen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey,
Yes.
Councilmember Robles,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor McNabo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, so item 12 is our appointment to boards. And so on page packet 182, we have a list of boards that you can look at while you hear the staff report by Madam City Clerk. Deborah Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This staff report supports all adopted goals of the City Council's 2030 vision and supports all adopted core values. The City of Grand Terrace has the opportunity to participate in various boards and commissions and committees as member of various municipal organizations and associations. Historically, these assignments are reviewed every 2 years following the regular municipal election. If council wishes to reorganize the positions on boards, committees, and commissions, it would be appropriate to make those changes at this time. To assist the council in their discussion for the reorganization, attached is the city's current list of boards, commissions, and committees and their established date, time, and place of meetings. There is no physical impact, and this time staff recommends that, subject to the advice and consent of the City Council, the mayor appoint representatives to fill both the delegate and alternate positions. That's the end of my staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any questions of staff at this time? Okay. Any requests to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, so in front of us on 182, we have our list of boards and commissions. Is there anyone that does not want to continue serving in the places that they are at this time? Councilmember Hussey.
You know, since I've been on the board for 2 years on the San Bernardino County Gang and Drug Task Force, nothing was talked about the drugs or any of the task force. And I think it really didn't, I was pretty much the only council member on there, and it really didn't make any rhyme or reason why to have Grand Terrace on there. I mean, I didn't see anything that was getting done. I think we do more work for Colton Joint Unified School District. That's just my opinion. I went to every one of those meetings, and it was kind of like push it aside, and nothing was. And I voiced my opinion earlier on that this year. I didn't see anything that benefit being on there, truthfully.
So you would rather not serve in that capacity?
I'd rather not serve. I don't even know if we even need to have that task force. I mean, we need to reevaluate it. I mean, I don't think anything's coming that's going to benefit the city. It's mainly due with San Bernardino and their city.
Oh, yeah, okay. So who is the head of that particular task force?
I can't remember his name because we stopped meeting after COVID, and
Okay.
we barely even got anything in writing or anything. You know, nothing was kept up on it. So.
Okay. All right, so is there anyone else that would like to take that spot?
No.
All right. I'm going to ask the city clerk if you would reach out to the San Bernardino County Gang and Drug Task Force and ask how it is that we became representatives on that board and what their goal is and how we would be able to best support that, and maybe we'll come back and look at that one again.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Further discussions about the role that you are currently filling, and would you like to change it?
Mayor,
Councilmember Hussey.
I would like to be on the Omnitrans Board of Directors, and then also continue, well, I like to maybe let Councilmember Allen be the head member of Colton Joint Unified, and I'll take the alternate.
Is that okay with you, Councilmember Allen?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind.
Okay.
And, I mean, I would, in this past 2 years, I've only had one position with the Solid Waste Task Force, so I wouldn't mind having, you know, doing that, or even another one, moving from alternate to, you know, either a committee member or a voting delegate on one of these other positions.
Okay. So for the Colton Joint Unified School District, Councilmember Allen will be the cabinet member. Will there be an alternate on this one? Councilmember Hussey, you want to be the alternate?
Yeah, I'll do the alternate.
Okay. And so for Omnitrans, I'm going to continue to be the board member. Did you want to be the alternate to that?
If Councilmember Allen wants to give it up.
Councilmember Allen?
Well, I don't particularly want to give it up, but
Okay.
I mean,
So you'd like to continue to serve there?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to give up being the primary, then
Okay. Okay, so I will.
Unless there's another,
Okay.
you know.
I'm going to continue to be the Joint Powers Insurance Authority representative. It's an annual meeting, but I currently serve on the executive committee, which is an elected position there. And so I will continue that commitment that I made. League of California Cities, we have a voting delegate, Councilmember Wilson, and an alternate of Councilmember Allen. Would the two of you like to continue in that space?
Yeah, I'd like to stay the alternate unless he wants to switch and be the alternate, then I would be the vote. But, if not, then I'd like to stay at least stay the alternate there.
Okay. So, you'll remain, okay? So the Southern California Association of Governments General Assembly, we have voting delegate Wilson and alternate Robles. Did you want to continue on that?
Yes.
Okay. And the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District Advisory Commission on Water Policy, I have committee member Wilson and alternate Robles. You want to continue? Did you want to continue to be the alternate?
Sure.
Okay. I will continue on the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. Councilmember Robles, did you want to be the alternate on that?
Yeah.
Okay. The San Bernardino County Solid Waste Task Force, Jeff Allen, did you want to continue to serve there? I know-
Yes.
Okay. And we have a vacant alternate on that one. Nobody wanted to serve as alternate last time? And continues nobody. Okay. And so we will come back and talk about the Gang and Drug Task Force, the Omnitrans Board of Directors. Councilmember Allen, would you allow Councilmember Hussey to be that alternate?
For what?
The Omnitrans Board.
I guess, sure.
Okay. I think that completes all of them, Madam City Clerk? All right, do you need a motion to affirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to affirm that.
Make a motion to affirm the appointments.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Robles and a second by Councilmember Hussey. Please call the vote.
Councilmember Allen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey,
Yes.
Councilmember Robles,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor McNabo.
Yes.
We'll switch it next meeting.
Okay, we have,
Motion
What?
passes unanimously.
thank you. We have one more item of new business, just a little amendment of April 19th, 2017 Memorandum of Understanding with Lewis Land Developers LLC in the city of Grand Terrace. Mr. Harold Duffy, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, G. Harold Duffy, City Manager. I'll be presenting the first part of this presentation, but we also have with us tonight Randall Lewis, Bill Hoover, and Adam Collier from the Lewis Land Development LLC group that's here tonight. After my presentation, Mr. Collier will provide some additional information on how the project's going to move forward. So as the mayor indicated, this is the amendment of the April 19, 2017 Memorandum of Understanding with the Lewis Land Developers LLC and the City of Grand Terrace. This is a picture of the 53 acres that the city sold to the Lewis Group. In addition, you will see a gold border around the property. This is the area for the Lewis Group to complete a gateway-specific plan, and the blue border indicates the land that we sold to the Lewis Group. So tonight's presentation will cover the following areas of the project. We'll cover a timeline, disposition and development agreement, or DDA, versus the MOU, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, tasks identified within the MOU, cost estimates for infrastructure improvements, and next steps for the Lewis Group presentation. Let's talk about the timeline. So the City of Grand Terrace entered into a disposition and development agreement with the Lewis Land Development Group in December of 2016. In the city, within the DDA, the groundwork was established for the city and the Lewis Development Group to enter into a memorandum of understanding on how the project would move forward. The City of Grand Terrace and the Lewis Land Development entered into a memorandum of understanding in April of 2017. So from 2017 to 2018, the Lewis Land Development and the city started design work for Commerce Way to Commerce Way expansion to Taylor Street and fine-tuning of cost estimates for other infrastructure projects. The amendment of tonight on 12/8/2020, the amendment to the MOU represents Lewis Land Developers' comfort with the project feasibility in terms of the project would be a go. So next, let's talk about the disposition and development agreement versus the MOU. The DDA established terms of the purchase price for the land that we sold. It also identified tasks for the developer must undertake for the purchase price that the city provided to them. And then also it has performance timelines and objections for the city to repurchase, options for the city to repurchase the property. Sorry. So what is the MOU? Why is that different from the DDA? The MOU basically understanding of each party's responsibilities. So while the DDA said these are the terms and conditions for the sale of the property and called out different aspects of the project, things that the Lewis Group needed to do, like a specific plan, a master plan, the MOU talked about responsibilities for each party, addresses mitigating measures. Who's going to pay for the road? How much they're going to pay for the road? How do you make sure that Lewis Group doesn't pay more than their fair share for the road? How do we make sure that the project is a go? Even though we sold the Lewis Group 53 acres, the Gateway specific plan covers 132 acres. So the fair share agreements between the city and the Lewis land developers was a key component for the MOU, and to ensure that all properties within the specific plan pay their fair share. So for example, the 53 acres that the Lewis Group acquired from the city can't really be completed without the entire infrastructure for the entire specific plan. So one would have the Lewis Group go through and do all the work, but the other 80 acres of land that's there, those property owners would benefit from all the work. So what we've done is with the Lewis Group in the MOU has identified ways to ensure that if there is an advancement from one party, that all parties have to pay their fair share on the project. So some of the aspects of what the tasks were for the Lewis Group to identify was storm drains. So one of the goals of this project was to, so we called it de-water Michigan, or pull the water out from Michigan, because we know that the water runs from Blue Mountain all the way down Van Buren and lands on Michigan, same way with Pico. And so one of the goals was to establish a process where we could not only, with the Lewis Group building these storm drain detention basins here, we'd also look at avenues to move the water further down Pico to ensure that it would tie in and then eventually end up in the storm drains. And so what's important here is that in the Gateway specific plan, we are upsizing these storm drain detention basins. And we're also putting additional pipe on Michigan and Van Buren. And so for that, the Lewis Group is building infrastructure well beyond what's required to accomplish what's in the Gateway specific plan, let alone only their property. So their 53 acres will require smaller infrastructure. But because as part of the Gateway specific plan, it doesn't really work unless you build the infrastructure for the entire plan. But in addition to that, they're upsizing it more to help us with our storm drain issues that happen throughout the city. So this is a 3D model that we've worked on for the last couple of years. It started out with the interchange project, and now it's moved on to the Gateway Commerce Way. So this is kind of an ideal of what the road would look like. And so if you're familiar with the area now, you can see that DeBerry has a different elevation than the rest of the area. So there's going to be quite a bit of dirt that's needed to fill the road and storm drains. So you're going to see a lot of activity occurring out here in this particular area. One of the tasks in the project calls for our park here, our baseball diamond at Veterans Freedom Park. This is the unlit baseball field. The goal would be to move that baseball field from here over to here. Lewis will then put a baseball diamond here with lights, bleachers, restrooms, and concession stands. The facility can be, the parking can be accessed from the new Commerce Way. There'll be parking. And there'll also be a trail between the existing Veterans Freedom Park, sort of like a nice walking path that will make a connection to the baseball diamond and park. This is more of a better picture of the park, and Adam Collier will go into more details regarding the amenities of the park. So the cost estimates for the infrastructure improvements, the city sold Lewis land developers 53 acres of land. Lewis will develop a 103-acre specific plan, and the infrastructure for the entire area is approximately $20 million, which far exceeds the Lewis land developers' responsibility. So the MOU will commit existing city resources. For example, the city has state funds from the CP&A, which we will have committed to expanding Commerce Way. We also have DIF fees, development impact fees, which we're committing to the project. And so what we've done is over the last year and a half, we've looked at the total cost for the entire infrastructure, what the Lewis's responsibility for their project, and then what our responsibilities are just for in terms of being able to have a new arterial road. But when we look at all the total numbers, and because of the storm drain basins and the storm drain improvements, we're looking at probably about the city committing an additional $1.5 million as part of this project. And I wanted to call that out to the council. We discuss that. So at this point, I can answer any questions, or we can move on to the Lewis presentation, and then we can follow up with questions after that.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Do we have questions at this time of staff? Councilmember Hussey.
Mr. Duffy, on the baseball park, was that the original plan to have a baseball/soccer field?
Well, originally, when we originally talked about this project, the project called for the baseball diamond and slash soccer field in this particular area. But after doing the models of the storm drain and so on and so on, everything seemed to always want to land here. And so they modified this, came up with a second plan and a third plan. But we approached the school district and we asked the school district to allow us to utilize these baseball fields, and then we could put a soccer complex here that the school district could use and the community could use. They were not interested in doing that, so we went to a different plan where we were going to swap this land always, but then we ended up with the baseball diamond park at this location.
Thank you.
Councilmember Allen.
Hey, Mr. Duffy, can you please go to the last slide before the questions slide?
The last slide.
Yeah.
This one?
No, before
the very last slide.
Right
yeah, the
before
very
your
last one.
questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
In the second paragraph, it says the MOU will commit existing city resources.
Right.
Can you give us an idea of what the resources you're referring to?
Sure, absolutely. So we have money from Measure I called the CP&A. It's for arterial roads. We have about, so what the CP&A will do is they will pay 60% for a new arterial road. And so as a part of this project, we looked at the road cost about $5 million. And so and 60% of that would be covered by the CP&A. And so that's our money, that it's committed money for that particular purpose. So that's part of that commitment. And then we have development impact fees for where they were collected for street improvements or signal improvements. And so we're committing those resources for that particular area. And so I called out the $1.5 million because that is the only place where we don't have committed resources. The council will have to come up with that $1.5 million from different resources.
So okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would come back to the council with those options of where that money could come from?
Absolutely, Mayor. And right now, we've applied for a state grant for funding to meet this obligation that we have. We're in the running for that. We'll continue to monitor that. We're supposed to get word back in in January. We're hoping to look at that and any other options that we have, and we'll come back to the council with those options.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Duffy, is there ever going to be a time where we're going to paint ourselves into a time corner in relation to this $1.5 million? Because in my experience, once a developer kicks off a project, the clock starts to tick, and if there's something in the way and we don't have the money, then we've got a real difficult problem. And unfortunately, I don't see any window where we're going to pick up this money or generate this money. We're going to be short $1.5 million, correct?
Well, I don't okay. So the proposal that you guys, I'm sorry, in the documents that you had today, you approved the treasurer's report. And the treasurer's report shows that you have $11 million in cash. And so that cash is moved in different components. But you actually have a number of options to be able to acquire this $1.5 million. And the time frame here is more like a year and a half, where we have to make about a year that we have to have identified the resource and have it there waiting for the project. Now,
so you're talking about leveraging something.
yeah, well, I think that's one option, but you also have RDA, cash on hand. You have committed it to projects which you want, but you always have the option to change that. I can bring those options to the council.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we go back to the park slide.
Sure.
And one more before that. The area where the detention basins are going to be, what will be built there?
The detention basins, they'll dig the ground out and have the detention basins there.
So it will just sit vacant?
Those two detention basins will, yes.
Okay.
And they will also be, Riverside Public Utilities is very interested in using that as a recharging station for their groundwater. So that could be another option to actually help mitigate the overall cost of the project.
Okay, how will it be maintained?
It will be if it's sold to Riverside Public Utilities, it'll be their responsibility.
So it would be sold then?
That is the desired option, yes.
Okay, all right, that's my last question. Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Okay. So next we have Adam Collier from the Lewis Group. And okay, he'll pull that up there.
Welcome, Mr. Collier.
Madam Mayor, fellow council members, appreciate Here we go, take two. Good evening, Madam Mayor and fellow council members. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to speak to you. I wish it was obviously under different circumstances. We're all a little tired of this ongoing COVID situation, but we do appreciate you taking the time to review this important item, and we're excited for 2021 and what's to come on this project. Again, I'm the Lewis project manager. I've been on this project since 2018. Randall Lewis is also here. Bill Hoover with our land acquisition team is also here. He's been on the project since its inception. And again, we're excited to go through this presentation. So what we're going to do, again, we'll go through this fairly quickly. That way we have time for questions. If anything comes up as we go along, raise your hand. I'm happy to answer them as we go through it. We'll kind of talk about what our vision is for the project, go kind of over the project overview, a land use plan, where we see things moving in 2021, the different amenities for the project. You saw the park. We'll go through a little bit more detail on that, as well as the project components. You're looking at the different residential schemes that we're looking at for the project, go through the project benefits like Harold has already touched on, and then really go through the CEQA and the entitlement schedule, and those milestones are going to be critical to making this project move forward next year. And then again, time for questions or comments, or as you see fit as you go through it. So again, Lewis, we take our projects very seriously, especially these master plan communities that require a heavy dose of infrastructure. This land obviously has been sitting aside for so long, lack of infrastructure, very challenged, and we really want to bring a unique vision and again, a long-term investment to this community with this project. We're looking at theming the community using our harvest theme. We have done that for a number of projects in both Chino, Upland, and Limonera up in Santa Paula. It's a real unique theme that really focuses on promoting health and healthy living. And it's, again, we can take you through some of those communities as we go along, but we really like what this can bring to this city. And then we do value, partnerships with the community through local job fairs and businesses. And we do see an opportunity to partner with the local school district as this project's built. We've done this in other projects where you've got different programs, whether it's ROP or others in these local schools that can be a part of as we develop. Can they get out and actually see these projects being built? I mean, that's really where you learn. I'm a Cal Poly graduate myself, and learn by doing was the motto. And I think this is a real opportunity to partner there. And we really are going to focus on the ability to generate value for the community. We're likely going to bring in residents that are going to have average incomes of well over $100,000, bring that new buying power, really live in the neighborhoods along Barton Road, those commercial areas. And our rental apartments, as I'll get into in a little bit, really attract a longer-term tenant than some of these typical apartment communities. And they really do invest and are really a good part of your neighborhoods and your communities. And we really maintain our neighborhoods extremely well. If you look at Ranch Cucamonga, a number of the apartment communities we built there, we're not a burden on the city. It's the complete opposite. So, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit on those when we talk about the retail, the rental apartment community. So again, as Harold touched on, the project's composed of about 135 acres, of which 88.5 acres are really developable. Once you subtract all the Edison corridors that are out there, the easements, the drainages, just the different grade issues we have. As I touched on, there's a lack of infrastructure. Storm drainage, as you all know, is the biggest challenge we face in this community. And really the lack of right-of-way to build the extension of Taylor Commerce. And this road does not exist today in any form. Obviously, you have the short extension up by the high school, but we're closing a huge gap with a major arterial. It's a big project. And again, this is a real unique infill opportunity along the I-215 that just does not exist in any market. And you've got, San Bernardino and Riverside, you've got a lot of people that just go in between and keep going. So it's a unique opportunity to bring some residents back here that drive by every day and say, maybe I don't want to have that commute. I could be home already. So it's a real unique opportunity. And again, we really focus on a master plan that really adds value to the community. So we'll get into the land use plan. I know many of you have seen this. This hasn't changed since any discussions last year. The biggest addition has really been, we have been able to work with the owner of parcel number 12 there. It's the red with the yellow hatch. We've actually been able to acquire that parcel. That was a significant investment that we saw in being able to add to the value of this project. Right now, we only saw planning area 11 and 20 as really being the newest developable pieces once you subtract the basins and the storm drains. And that acreage just doesn't generate enough revenue to be able to pay for all the infrastructure. So we were able to actually acquire parcel number 12. We're working through that property owner now. But that's able to add enough value to really offset the infrastructure costs that we didn't have until middle of this year. So that was a huge component to being able to move this project forward. And as Harold touched on, relocating the Little League field, I'll get into the details on that. I think it's a real good community enhancement for a field that's was a little undersold, unfortunately, by the school district, and now we can make it right. And we think that this land use plan is a good layout by having the commercial, the retail to the north, and the residential to the south up against the high school. I think it's a good kind of transition of land uses as you move through the plan. So talking about the park, the Gateway Park concept, again, this would be a 200-foot Little League field, which is a standard Little League field up through the major divisions. It'd be a completely lighted facility. The idea is we like the concept of moving it closer to Taylor Commerce from a policing perspective. It's easy to drive by, monitor the street. As you know now, Veterans Freedom Park is a more difficult situation from that standpoint. I think this is a real safe concept. We're looking at a large playground structure and barbecue areas. So it's not just a baseball field, but it's also a neighborhood park for not only the existing residents, but our residents just to the north. So I think it's a good mix and a good use for this property that's divided by the power lines to the north and the street to the west and the school district. It just didn't feel like it wanted to be residential or something else. It needed to be kind of a community asset. So getting into the project components in terms of the residential, as you can see, I've outlined kind of the boundaries of where we're looking for the residential component. Planning areas 11 and 12 there on the north are what we're envisioning as our for-rent community. And right now we're looking at, it could be a density range from 10 to 25 units with a variety of types of tandem units, duplexes, multiplexes, could be up to 3 stories. Again, we're still evaluating what that programming will really look like, but we're really excited to bring a real Lewis ownership and a long-term holding back to the table on planning areas 11 and 12. And then we foresee planning area 20, which is, because it abuts some existing power lines and abuts the high school, it's going to have a little bit more noise and glare issues. We saw that as being more of a kind of a for sale community. And again, that could range from 8 to 20 units to the acre and allow for kind of a range of housing types from detached single family, small lot single family, potentially attached or detached condominiums. Again, we're hard at work on that concept right now, working with Randall. We're going to be having an internal kickoff on the project to really start ferreting out what are these product types going to look like as we submit those. And I'll talk about the milestones in a little bit on how this plays into this concept. So these are just some of the images from some of our projects. These range from the Chino Preserve project. The one in the upper right corner is Harvest at Upland. That's a project I was responsible for. Same as the image in the middle. Those are higher density detached single family units, 2 to 3 story units. And then you have some of the more traditional kind of higher density detached single family units in the other corners as well. And those are from Fontana as well as Chino. And here's some images of some of our for rent communities. This kind of highlights some of the product types we're looking at, as well as potential kind of clubhouse imagery. This is from our projects in Rancho Cucamonga as well as in Chino Hills. So again, the real high quality, amenitized communities that really attract a different type of for rent. It's a rent by choice personality that would choose these communities rather than just somebody who's fly by night looking to put down their roots for 6 months before moving on. So now we get into the infrastructure, and as Harold alluded, the storm drain is really the most challenged issue. When I took on the project, it was originally envisioned that the storm drain basins would be sized to basically handle the project plus a little bit more, because they wanted to be used as a joint use, as a soccer complex and as a baseball field. We just struggled with that. I don't like the idea of having a public facility like a park that could be put out of use when it rains or when it floods. You're saturating fields, you're saturating a baseball field. It just, from a use standpoint, I don't think the public gets the full benefit of that. Hence the reason we've looked at, why don't we maximize the size of these detention basins to handle all the capacity needed for upstream flows from the Blue Mountain when we get into those peak storm rates, and look at potential opportunities to sell this to RPU or whatever it can be to reduce the city's long-term maintenance costs, but also offset some of the costs of the infrastructure. And our original obligation was to install the storm drain up to Michigan Avenue to dewater that intersection. And what we've looked at is, rather than building infrastructure, like a 96-inch storm drain in Van Buren, which the street today can't handle a storm drain that big. There's too many utilities in the way. We never could have done it, unfortunately. Why not look at a system that would manage the flow across Michigan, make it safer for pedestrians in the neighborhoods to be able to cross those intersections? And then why not look at shifting and adding additional storm drain in a phase 2 to Pico Avenue? Because Pico is just as bad, if not worse, actually, when we look at the models for the storm drain impacts. And why not invest in Pico as well? Because unfortunately, the school district undersized the storm drain that goes to their property, and we actually have to upsize a new storm drain that goes to the Pico Avenue cul-de-sac. And then from there, future phases could bring that storm drain up all the way through past Michigan, further north, to help alleviate some of those flows. And you see that with your curb heights as you get further up there. That's trying to just get the water away from those properties. And unfortunately, that channelizing has almost made some of the downstream impacts worse. And that's what this solution is looking to solve. And then we'll get into some of the other items on the roadway as I go to the next slide. So in looking at the roadway, again, what has changed is, from the original concept, is we think Van Buren needs to go through. Today it already has a number of existing utilities. RPU has water lines in it that goes to their existing wells. So we just said, you know what, that road just needs to continue in its existing layout, connected into Taylor and Commerce. And the idea is looking at a phase 1 and a phase 2 street project, depending upon how costs go out. We don't know what the world will look like in 2 years with costs of materials or labor. We would love to be able to do phase 1 and 2 in one complete go, but again, when we go to public bid, we work on the cost estimates as we get closer. We'll have to figure out whether it's a phase 1 or it's a phase 2 project. And this shows we can at least get a lane in each direction all the way down to Main. Main can be improved, and then we can come back later on the west side of the street and add the remaining 2 lanes to get you 4 lanes in each direction. Ideally, in a perfect world, some of those properties down by Main would develop and construct their half width rather than relying on Lewis and city, dollars and project to be able to pay for that up front. If a project does proceed, that would be a real benefit to all of us to help them pay their fair share of that half width of the street. And this is just a cross section that shows, again, the worst case scenario with the phase 1 widening to the north on the upper left corner, and then the ultimate section of the roadway with the 4 lanes and the bike lanes would be in phase 2. And the bottom section shows you how that gets laid out with the striped median. Originally, we had a concept for doing a raised median, but unfortunately, when we looked at the intersection spacing, we had so many turn pockets that it would just blow out the need for landscaping. And then the long-term maintenance obligation, those are some of the most expensive areas to maintain. So working with city staff, we felt like it was a sensible decision. And here's just some of the components of the project. This is some real conceptual imagery. This is some early concepts for some of the monumentation, some of the community obelisks ideas that we have that can go in the entries of the project. We think this will evolve as we kind of incorporate the harvest theme, and we'll continue to work with staff and the council on what the images are appropriate, what the materials. But again, we think this will be a real important asset to really define the community. So again, in terms of the project benefits, we're obviously creating a real high quality master plan that will enhance the community's image as the gateway to the city and the county. Right now, that area is, while it's a gateway, it doesn't exist today, and we're going to create a new gateway. And I think it's going to really give Grand Terrace a different name than it has today. Completes the extension of Commerce Way to Main. Really takes the traffic off Michigan Avenue. Those peak hour traffic is, I feel bad for those residents on Michigan today. That pass by traffic is just crushing. And I think this land use plan and this project will really help with that. And again, we talked about the storm drain earlier, the regional basins, undergrounding facilities, and in some, I don't need to go through all these, you can all read, but if you have any specific questions, I'd happy to go through them. I will get to probably the most important component that you all are interested in. This is really the CEQA schedule and the timeline for the project. This is where the rubber hits the road next year. The idea is we will circulate what's called the notice of preparation for the EIR. That's the first step in the EIR process. That will go out beginning of the year. That's a 30-day review period. That's when all the agencies and other cities around you will send comments on what they think you should study in your EIR. We already did this back in 2017, I believe, or early 2018, so we already know some of the hot topics. But again, things have changed in 3 years, so we'll no likely get a refresh and some new issues. And then the idea being Lewis would then complete the updated draft specific plan for city submittal in the first quarter of 2021. Again, we're not too far away from that, but again, we want to make sure we have all the comments from all these other agencies before we spend a lot of money on consultants updating a document without having those comments. And then from there, in the second quarter of 2021, we'll be submitting our tentative track maps, our site plan, and our design review packages for the for sale and the for rent neighborhoods. Because that all has to be studied under the EIR to begin with, so that we have to be working on that in the background anyway, but we still need a few months to be able to put all those packages together because it is quite a bit of work. And really what's driving the timeline for this overall EIR process is there's a number of biological studies we're required to do for the project. There's burrowing owls, least bells, vireo species. We also have to study bats. That's actually a new hot topic, is bats. So we will be doing bat surveys, burrowing owl surveys in the required windows, which go from February to July 2021. And then once we have those reports compiled, that then goes into really the final draft EIR, which we can then circulate in the third quarter of 2021. And then that's when the project really gets hot, because you now have a draft EIR. That's when everyone's writing nasty letters. So that process will be interesting as we see, obviously, what comments come out from the NOP, and then those that wait till the draft EIR. So those are always the issues we have to watch. And then the idea is, we get a final approval with City Council in the fourth quarter of 2021 with the final EIR. And we have the expiration of the appeal period, assuming there's no lawsuits filed. And from there, we kick off final engineering and all the construction drawings for the roadways, the storm drains, with the concept or the idea of beginning construction in second quarter of 2022. And from there, that assumes we get all our resource agency permits, because unfortunately, and I'll go back to one of the slides, we are filling, let's see, is there a dot pin here? We are filling this waters of the state right here. That right there is being completely filled, and that requires fish and wildlife permits to take the waters of the state, as Well, we haven't seen any sensitive species out there yet with some of our preliminary surveys, but that does come up during the next 9-month process that could add additional permitting requirements. So there is a process we have to go through. We also, as part of the basin improvements, we have to extend a storm drain underneath the Gage Canal to connect to San Bernardino County's existing flood control just to the north. So again, that's another permit, another agency we have to go through for permits that just exacerbates the problem and the timeline. So with that, I have nothing else to add. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Collier. Do we have questions at this time? Mayor Pro Tem.
How many birds do you have to worry about in this 6 to 9 month time frame?
Burrowing owls, least bells vireo, and there's one more I can't remember off the top of my head, plus bats. So there's about 4.
So those are the ones that you have to worry about the nesting periods.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Just
there you go.
the presence of, yep.
And if you miss it, you have to wait for another year.
Hopefully not.
You're not gonna miss it.
Exactly, yeah.
So the question for me is I see where you're going to do the fill for the retention, or actually to fill in that what's considered by some a biological area, but where does it go from there? I mean, how are you going to mitigate it?
So yeah, that's part of the process. We have that part of the cost estimate. You know, we've got an assumed acreage that we're going to be impacting, and we've done a 3-to-1 offset based on what we think the value of the habitat is. Ideally, it should be less, in my opinion, because it is not a native habitat, but the agencies are going to say because it has value, it could hold species, therefore they're going to start with 3-to-1 out of the gate.
Sure.
So,
I'm just curious, but are you using attorneys or are you using biological guys?
both.
Okay, good.
All of the above. Can't win with one alone, unfortunately, so.
Terrific, okay. And then the area for the retention basins, I think the mayor may have kind of hinted at this. Has there been any kind of a study done so far as dual use? Because I know you got to have a permeable bottom.
Right.
But at the same time, in other words, you don't want a muddy mess that anybody's going to be scrunching around in. But our amount of rainfall most of the time is pretty low. If you get the nuisance water down through there, with something hard, and then turn around and use the rest of it for a 100-year storm, then you
Sure.
might have a chance to be able to do something.
That's a good idea. Maybe we could look at potentially, maybe a forebay to capture the intermittent flows and divert that, and then retain, for the larger storm
Yeah,
events.
the greasy flows, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the urban
Okay.
slobbers, we call it. So, but yeah, it's a good idea. We'll look at that.
Thank you.
Further questions? Councilmember Hussey.
I don't know if you can answer, Mr. Duffy. Property 11 and 20, are the sellers entertaining the idea to sell that property, or are we gonna, what's the issue on that? Was it property 20?
So 11 and 20 are the ones we own today.
Okay, so which one was holding that you were saying was holding?
So 12 was the one that we actually are now under contract to purchase.
So 12, so everything's going smooth on that then?
So far, so good, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got it mixed up then.
Why? What have you heard, Councilmember Hussey?
Yes,
No,
I
I'm
say,
just wondering. I hear
Don't scare me.
things coming, I'm like, I just have flashbacks of what we've been having going through and stuff, so.
Gotcha.
I know some of this property is sentimental to people, and they might want to keep the bat, I don't know. So,
Right.
all right, thank you.
No problem.
Further questions? All right.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
Do we have requests to speak on this item? We'll open public comment. Thank you. Johan Gallo?
Always makes me feel like I'm going into a bank with a mask on, rob the place. Anyway, Johan Gallo, 22808 DeSoto Street, Grand Terrace. I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Wilson's comments regarding the 1.5 million and the concerns over the city's budget. But Randall Lewis doesn't know that I'm going to talk about him tonight, because I happen to have the pleasure of working with him indirectly with Dr. Fisher on his Executive Advisory Business Committee for many years. What I saw from Randall Lewis is his commitment to communities and his buildings and what he does to bring business in what he does to make sure the projects are on top of everything that you've ever had done. And when I saw the different projects and all the foresight and even creating these new nucleus neighborhoods where people can commute by walking to work and creating literally circles that go further and further out, taking the industrial away from the city, was always amazing. So I hope that we can find 1.5 million. I've been working a long time for the Sheriff's Department to get us some money, but I do hope that we find a way to do this because I think it would pay dividends for our city and for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Do we have any other requests to speak on this item?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll close public comment, and we'll bring it back to council for consideration of a motion and more discussion, unless Mr. Hoover wants to finish the story that he was telling earlier. Okay. Councilmember Allen.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to Memorandum of Understanding with Lewis Land Developers, LLC, and authorize the mayor to execute subject to city attorney approval as to form.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Allen and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Wilson. Any further discussion at this time? All right. Madam City Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Councilmember Allen?
Yes.
Councilmember Hussey?
Yes.
Councilmember Robles?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor McNamara?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right. All right, we look forward to good things. First quarter 2022 groundbreaking, is that what we're doing? All right. We have no requests for future agenda items, so we'll move into council communications, beginning with Councilmember Jeff Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. I just I would like to thank everyone who tunes in to, on TV or online on the internet and watches the council meetings, all the residents, and those who have an interest in the city and want to see what we're doing. I appreciate those that do that. I trust that everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and I don't think we're going to have another meeting for a while, so I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year coming up for everyone that's out there. And I also want to give one last big shout out to my grandson and future astronaut Eli. He turned 7 this past week, and so I'm just real proud of you, little buddy. That's all, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Bill Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you, council members, for electing me to be your Mayor Pro Tem for the next cycle. But I also want to thank the fire department, because we had that fire up there on Blue Mountain, and they got on it pretty fast. And I know the winds were usually kicking in during the evening time, but they took care of it pretty good. Quite a spectacle to see, and I think it was the Sheriff's Department that actually helped too, dropping water. So that's good teamwork. I want to thank the committee and for our annual Christmas tree lighting festival. I mean, it was sad that it was so small, because I know everybody likes that, and it's one of our biggest things that the city puts on. But, we're still blessed, and we'll still keep moving, and hopefully next year we'll have even a bigger one. So I just want to thank everybody who made that possible. And I'd like to say again, Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy New Year, and these are my prayers. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, city staff, for everything you did this last year during this COVID crisis thing and the pandemic. But, probably won't see you, but, thank you. And once again, God bless everybody in Grand Terrace. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussey. Councilmember Sylvia Robles.
Yes, I want to first off thank the staff for the great work that all of you have done, including the staff that's not here. We do think of you, and we do appreciate you. I also want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We have a vaccine coming. Things will be better, and we'll get through this. I will be serving again on the League of Cities Revenue and Taxation. I have a difficult time with Zoom, but I'll make an effort to make sure that I serve the city by attending all the meetings that I'm supposed to. I also want to do a little plug for some of the businesses that unfortunately probably are closed again. But I went and got my eyebrows done. Sweet Expressions, where the beer room is, you know, she's open when she can be, when there's, you know, not this, and let's support these businesses. There's also Skin Theory, where Babette's and the nail salon's there. So kind of look up these young ladies. They're homeowners. One of them was raised here, and let's give them our business, because I mean, going to Redlands now for all the services is, you know, I'm glad to be able to do all this down in Grand Terrace, and you know, let's support these girls. I know that I think the Bella Salon from Colton has relocated where Bella retired. So you know, it's a vibrant experience for women, and it's important that we, you know, have a quality of life and ability not to have to drive 30 miles in bumper traffic to get our services. Let's support the people that have taken the risk to start a business here to serve us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Robles. Mayor Pro Tem Doug Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can tell, it's the first time I've been here for a public meeting since March. My wife is very concerned about the spreadability of COVID, and she takes a very conservative stance in relation to it, and rightfully so. My daughter works at Kaiser and is on the front line, and just this week my granddaughter found that her boss had exposed her to the COVID, and so she's got testing already done and waiting for the results. I think it is a good idea for all of us to remember that it is not much to ask to try to preserve the lives of others when we are taking a conservative stance towards this pandemic. I'd also like to thank all those who prepared for the tree lighting. It is one of my favorite times too. Usually I get a chance to say ho, 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 or something, but it was still great. And I'm looking forward to this year. I think this year's we're going to have an opportunity to excel, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I'm going to start with something a little bit different. Our resident, Eloise Reyes, also is our assembly member. And so I want to congratulate her not only on her reelection, but she was appointed to majority leader. And that's a pretty big thing. So congratulations to her, and she represents Grand Terrace very well. I want to thank the staff for all the extra effort they put in this year. They had a lot on their plates project-wise, but then a lot of the adjustments that had to be made to keep the residents and the employees safe during this time. And I love the temperature gauges when you come in. That works out really nice. So thank you for all the extra effort. We are very lucky that we are in a place financially that is a lot better than we thought. So we're blessed in that way. Thank you very much for doing the things that you've done, like the drive-in movies and finding a way to do a tree lighting and coming to some of the events and saying, what can we do? It won't be the same, but what can we do instead of just disbanding all of it? So there was a lot of extra thought and creativity. So thank you so much for that. I will say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and I look forward to a brighter 2021. So we'll end there and go on to City Manager Communications. Mr. Duffy, do you have any communications for us?
Yes, Mayor, very briefly. I just wanted to alert the council to we made a recent change to, we added some equipment to our park volunteers. We gave them a vest. It's a safety vest, but it also helps provide some power behind their nice request to have people leave the park. People always ask, who are you? So this says they're a park volunteer. And so we got a couple different sizes and colors. Also, we provided them with a nice flashlight that will help them as they navigate through to close in the different facilities. They seem to be very pleased with the new uniforms. And so that concludes my comments, Mayor.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, we have one closed session item tonight, so we will recess to closed session. For those of you that will not be here when we come back, our next regular city council meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. So any request to have an item placed on future agenda item must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk's office, and the request will be processed in accordance with council procedures. So again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to all of you who will not be with us when we come back. At this time, we are in recess. To look at in closed session, and that's public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, Title City Manager. And so that is the item that we will be addressing in closed session. So now at this time, we are in recess. Thank you. To reconvene to open session. The council met in closed session to review one item, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, City Manager. We have no reportable actions, and so at this time we will adjourn to our next regular city council meeting to be held Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Any request to have an item placed on future agenda item must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk's office, and the request will be processed in accordance with council procedures. So one last time, congratulations to my colleagues on their re-election. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. See you in 2021. We're adjourned.